Medieval Women's Sleep Story, Part 1, Scene 1 Asterisk. The evening settled gently over the medieval village. Soft and quiet. Cobblestone streets twisted between timber-framed houses with thatched roofs. A cool breeze drifted through the village, carrying the smell of fresh bread from ovens, drying herbs hanging in windows, and faint smoke from hearth fires. Somewhere far off, a horse whinnied softly, its hooves clattering gently on stone. The village moved with a slow, natural rhythm, as if it were breathing quietly in the fading light. Asterisk inside a small, timbered house. A young woman named Eleanor moved carefully across the wooden floor. Her bare feet brushed the smooth planks. She wore a simple brown wool gown, soft and well-worn, its long sleeves falling loosely round her wrists. Tiny floral embroidery along the hem, stitched by her mother, glimmered in the lantern light. Her gown was not the silk of nobles, yet it held a quiet elegance, practical and comforting, shaped by everyday life. Asterisk Eleanor's dark hair was braided loosely, tied at the end with a narrow strip of linen. It kept her hair tidy for work, yet allowed freedom to move. Her brown eyes were calm and steady, reflecting quiet determination. Her hands, though hardened from labor, moved with practiced care. Today she had milked goats, fetched water from the well, tended the garden, kneaded dough, and mended worn garments. Each motion was deliberate, rhythmic, almost meditative, a testament to the soft beauty of village life. Asterisk, outside, the village had become still. The blacksmith's hammer was hung, children's laughter faded into the distance, and the wind whispered gently through trees. Eleanor paused at the window, gazing at the silver moonlight spilling across rooftops. The thatched roofs gleamed softly, and the timber beams cast delicate shadows on the walls. She breathed in the cool night air, savoring the quiet, a gentle blanket of calm wrapping the village. Asterisk her mother entered, carrying a small wooden bowl of stew. "Eat slowly, my child," she whispered. Eleanor nodded, settling onto a low stool. The warmth of the meal brought comfort after a long day. As she ate, her thoughts drifted to the women who had lived here before her, wearing similar gowns, performing similar tasks, moving with the same quiet grace. They had lived lives full of care, patience, and small joys, leaving gentle echoes for generations. Asterisk, after finishing, Eleanor stepped outside. The night air was crisp against her skin as she walked along the cobblestone path. The moon hung low, casting silver light on walls and streets, creating long, quiet shadows. She felt connected to women of the past who had drawn water from the same well, tended gardens, guided children, and lived with careful, deliberate grace. She placed her hand on the cool stone rim of the well, imagining countless women before her doing the same, their lives quietly shaping the rhythm of the village. Asterisk, she wandered slowly along the empty streets. The blacksmith's shop was dark, herbs swayed in the gentle breeze, and the river murmured softly nearby. Every small act in life held beauty, a stitch in a gown, a carefully tended garden, a loaf of bread kneaded with care. These gestures, repeated across generations, wove the fabric of the village together. Asterisk, returning home, Eleanor tended the hearth. She adjusted the embers to glow warmly, hung washed linens to dry, each piece catching the flickering firelight. Every action was measured, slow, ceremonial in a way. Even preparing the home for night felt like honoring the generations of women who had lived here before her. Asterisk night deepened. The village lay wrapped in dark, protective silence. Eleanor lay on her straw mattress, pulling the woolen blanket around her shoulders. Outside, the river whispered, the wind sighed through the trees, and small animals rustled softly. The quiet of night carried a gentle lullaby, a rhythm shaped by care, patience, and quiet strength. Asterisk in her dreams, she wandered through golden wheat fields. Women bent over crops, their hands skilled and steady. Village markets appeared, the smell of fresh bread and dried herbs mingling with soft conversation. Some women carried children, others balanced baskets of produce, all moving gracefully. Their clothing simple, yet telling a story. Muted browns and greens for work, brighter shades for festivals. Each stitch a small legacy dot. Asterisk, Eleanor imagined warm home interiors, hearths glowing, mothers tending children, sisters preparing meals. Every gesture was measured and gentle. The rhythm of life moved forward through centuries, soft and steady. Ordinary acts forming a tapestry of quiet resilience. Asterisk, moonlight climbed higher, silvering rooftops, streets, and gardens. Women moved carefully within their homes, steps soft, hands skilled, voices calm. The night carried a heartbeat, connecting past and present. Eleanor felt this as she drifted deeper into dreams, walking paths known to countless women before her, feeling their quiet strength in every step. Asterisk, she wandered through moonlit forests, waving fields of grain, winding village paths. Women moved slowly, hands busy yet elegant. Beauty was not in grandeur, but in care. A stitched hem, a well-tended garden, a freshly baked loaf. Every small act contributed to the soft harmony of life. Asterisk, in dreams, she glimpsed distant castles where noble women moved through stone halls in silk gowns. Yet even there, echoes of her village remained. Quiet care, subtle gestures, gentle power. Simple homes or grand halls, life followed a soft rhythm, a song of endurance. Asterisk, evening festivals came alive in her mind. Lanterns in the village square, children playing near haystacks, soft music drifting from lutes. Skirts brushed cobblestones, laughter mingled with gentle conversation. Scents of baked goods and spiced cider filled the air. Every movement carried history, every sound the pulse of generations. Asterisk, Eleanor dreamed of her ancestors, hands folded in prayer, fingers sewing tiny stitches, tending fires, moving with dignity. The night cradled her, connecting centuries. Ordinary acts held extraordinary weight. Even in sleep, she felt the lives of women around her, the patterns of their days, the rhythm of their care, and the beauty of their enduring presence. Asterisk, lavender fields, moonlit streams, humming bees, rustling leaves, distant owl calls. The world seemed alive with gentle motion. Every voice, whisper, and rustle carried continuity. The village was serene, every stone and timber bathed in moonlight. Eleanor's footsteps echoed those who had walked before her, forming a rhythm stretching across generations. Asterisk, even the smallest details, a folded sleeve, fabric, texture, firelight flicker, felt amplified in her dreams. Every act mattered. She was carried along invisible threads, connecting past, present, and future. The night wrapped her in comfort, continuity, and assurance. Asterisk, in her final dream before waking, she walked side by side with ancestors, across fields, through markets, inside homes. Their hands guided her, movements mirrored hers, laughter and whispered wisdom surrounded her. She carried their care, artistry, and quiet power into sleep. letting it cradle her as the village rested peacefully. Asterisk moonlight reflected off rooftops. The river murmured softly. Wind whispered through trees, and the village slept. Every stitch, every step, every gesture preserved in the soft rhythm of night. A lullaby for all who lived, labored, and loved here. Eleanor dreamed on, carried by generations of women, quiet strength shaping the world softly, eternally. Medieval Women's Sleep Story, Part 2. Scene 2. The first light of dawn crept softly over the medieval village, spilling gentle gold across the cobblestones. A light mist clung to the fields, curling between timber-framed houses and the gardens where dew clung to herbs and vegetables. The morning air was crisp and fresh, carrying the faint scent of bread baking in ovens as the village slowly awoke. Somewhere in the distance, a rooster crowed, and a cow lowed softly. The village stirred quietly, in a rhythm that had persisted for generations. Asterisk inside her small house, Eleanor rose from her straw-stuffed mattress. She stretched her limbs gently, feeling the wooden floor cool beneath her bare feet. Her long dark hair was braided as always, tied neatly with a strip of linen. She wore a soft brown wool gown, practical yet graceful, sleeves tied back for work. Each gesture she made was deliberate, arranging herbs by the window, drawing water from the basin, smoothing the folds of her gown. Every movement carried the quiet elegance of habit, learned from her mother and grandmother. Asterisk outside, the streets began to hum with life. Women emerged from houses, carrying baskets of eggs, bundles of firewood, or leading goats along worn paths. The colors of their gowns were muted browns, soft greens, and deep blues. Embroidery caught the early sunlight, small floral patterns or geometric designs, subtle but beautiful. Hair was braided, coiled, or tucked under linen scarves, practical yet neat. Every step was careful, every gesture intentional, a reflection of centuries of learned care. Asterisk Eleanor stepped into the square, inhaling the morning air. The market was beginning to awaken. Wooden stalls were set up, merchants arranging vegetables, jars of honey, piles of cloth. Children ran quietly between legs, laughter soft and fleeting. The scent of bread mixed with fresh herbs, milk, and earth from the gardens. Women greeted one another with nods, soft smiles, exchanging small gifts or gentle words. The social rhythm of the village unfolded naturally, woven by shared work and quiet respect. Asterisk Eleanor wandered through the stalls, eyes drawn to rolls of fabric dyed in earthy blues, greens, and reds. Some carried subtle embroidery, patterns that mirrored her mother's teachings. She ran her fingers lightly over the weave, appreciating texture and craft. Even simple cloth held beauty when handled with care, a reminder that artistry lived in everyday life. Asterisk nearby, a baker displayed loaves still warm from the oven. Women gathered around, selecting bread with care, feeling the crust, inhaling its aroma. Eleanor picked a small loaf for herself. The baker, a cheerful woman with flour-dusted hair, smiled quietly as Eleanor nodded in thanks. These simple exchanges were part of the rhythm of village life. Quiet acknowledgements of shared effort and community. Asterisk soft music began to drift through the square. A small troupe of musicians tuned lute, flute, and tambourine. Women paused, listening, their movements slowing. Some hummed along quietly, voices blending with gentle instruments. Even ordinary morning tasks became a backdrop to subtle celebrations of sound. Life here was quiet, harmonious, and comforting. Eleanor walked toward the outskirts of the village, observing women preparing for daily chores. One led a cow to pasture, the bell chiming softly with each step. Another tended a garden, fingers plucking weeds and shaping soil around vegetables. Every movement was precise yet fluid, a balance of efficiency and care. Repetition had made each gesture graceful. There was elegance in labor, beauty in rhythm, poetry in everyday life. She gathered herbs from a small woodland patch. Mint, thyme, lavender, rosemary all carried their delicate scents into the morning air. Fingers brushed gently over leaves, selecting, tying bundles with care, each motion reflecting patience learned over generations. She imagined women before her doing the same, guiding daughters, teaching patience, and moving with quiet purpose. Eleanor noticed subtle differences in attire. Some women wore dark earth tones for labor, sleeves rolled back, aprons tied snugly. Others displayed slightly brighter colors, embroidered with tiny floral motifs, buttons of bone or wood, belts neatly cinched. Hair was braided, coiled, or covered with linen scarves. Even small choices reflected the balance between practicality, individuality, and community. By the stream. She let her fingers trail in the cool water. Reflections of sky shimmered on the surface. Fish darted beneath. She imagined women kneeling here in centuries past, washing clothes, filling jugs, pausing to rest, listening to water murmur and trees whisper. Time had carried their gestures forward, unbroken. Every touch, every motion was part of a long lineage of care and grace. Back in the village, midday arrived. Women prepared meals, kneaded dough, mended garments, tended animals. The scent of bread, simmering stews, and roasting meat mingled with earth from gardens and stables. Every household moved in quiet coordination, gestures deliberate, each contributing to nourishment and comfort. Stirring, chopping, gathering all small acts, carrying love and care. Eleanor returned with her bundles of herbs, beginning preparations for a simple lunch. She chopped, stirred, and arranged ingredients with practiced precision. Her mother worked beside her, rolling dough and kneading in rhythm. Their hands moved together in unspoken harmony, a gentle dance of familiarity and shared knowledge, echoing centuries of women who had done the same. Afternoon brought social moments. Women exchanged advice, gifts, news. Their voices were soft yet confident, flowing with quiet rhythm. Children played nearby, weaving through the patterns of adult care. Eleanor observed, learning the nuances of conversation, gestures, and small acts of kindness that connected generations. Sunlight warmed the village as Eleanor visited the blacksmith's apprentice to collect tools. Women carried water, firewood, and food, each movement graceful. Even functional tasks were elegant, skirts swaying, baskets carefully placed, children guided with gentle hands. Labor itself became poetry, weaving calm and beauty into the day. Evening approached. The village slowed into the pace of night. Fires were tended, linens hung to dry, food prepared. Children guided indoors, chores complete, homes tidied. Shadows lengthened across cobblestones and rooftops, intricate patterns of timber illuminated by fading sunlight. Patience, care, and quiet strength were visible in every gesture. Lanterns flickered to life, casting warm light along streets and inside homes. Women moved carefully, balancing tasks and household needs. Voices murmured stories or gentle laughter, Life slowed, wrapping the village in calm. A nightly cycle of care and rest. Eleanor prepared her room for night, arranging straw mattresses, folding linens, adjusting the blanket. She lay down, drawing the soft wool around herself. The river murmured nearby, wind rustled leaves, animals moved quietly in hedge. The village exhaled in unison, a breath of centuries of wisdom, in dreams. Eleanor wandered markets, kitchens, and gardens alongside women of every generation. She saw hands stirring, sewing, carrying water, guiding children. Each motion was graceful, deliberate, powerful in quiet ways. Even in dreams, life moved with gentle rhythm, shaped by women whose strength was soft yet enduring. She imagined festivals, lanterns strung across the square, music drifting from lutes and flutes, women arranging stalls with baked goods, textiles, and pottery. Children ran near haystacks, laughter blending with music and murmured conversation. Herbs, bread, roasting meat, faint paint scents in carved signs, all ordinary yet extraordinary in harmony. Every gesture contributed to life's tapestry, beautiful and profound. Night fell fully. Eleanor lay in her room, listening to rivers, wind, fire, distant animals. Her dreams carried her through centuries, alongside women whose labor shaped the rhythms she followed. Continuity of care, artistry, and gentle mastery cradled her, bringing deep peace. Even small details, folded sleeves, basket placement, herb scents, lantern flickers, wove harmony. Every act, repeated across generations, built resilience, elegance, and quiet strength. Eleanor felt connected to these lives, drifting deeper into sleep, carried by enduring presence of women before her. Moonlight spread silver across rooftops and streets. The village rested, stitched together by rhythm, quiet beauty, and care. Eleanor's dreams wandered freely, guided by centuries of women shaping the world softly, yet profoundly. Medieval Women's Sleep Story, Part 3, Scene 3, Voice-friendly SL*. A soft morning fog lingered over the medieval village, silver and gentle, diffusing the sunlight that crept over the rolling hills. The cobblestones glimmered faintly with dew, and the first birds began to sing, their notes light and clear. Fresh bread smells drifted from ovens, mingling with earthy scents from gardens and stables. Somewhere, a cow lowed softly, a rooster crowed, and the whisper of leaves in the breeze carried across the streets. The village stirred slowly, each motion deliberate, each sound part of a quiet symphony. Eleanor rose from her straw mattress in the small timber-bird house at the village edge. Her bare feet touched the cool wooden floor. She wore a gown of muted green wool, practical yet graceful, sleeves tied back for work. Hem embroidered with tiny floral patterns her mother had taught her. Her long dark hair, braided loosely and tied with linen, fell gently across her back. Every movement was careful, deliberate, and smooth, as if honoring generations of women who had moved this way before. Her morning began with tending the hearth. She adjusted embers until they glowed warmly, stoked the fire, and arranged the small clay pots with steady hands. Then she carried a clay jug to the well, feeling cool water brush her palms, and returned to gather herbs from the garden thyme, rosemary, lavender, mint. Each leaf was chosen carefully, tied into bundles with gentle fingers. Every motion carried centuries of experience, passed down through hands that had shaped the rhythm of village life. Outside, the village came alive slowly. Women moved with quiet purpose along cobblestone streets, carrying baskets of eggs, bundles of herbs, and small tools. Their gowns swayed gently, muted and practical, some dark earth tones for labor, some lighter shades for small celebrations. Hair was braided or coiled neatly, scarves tied simply yet elegantly. Each step, each gesture, was part of a rhythm learned and preserved over generations. The market square began its soft hum of life. Wooden stalls arranged neatly, goods laid out carefully, vegetables, honey jars, woven textiles. Women sorted herbs, tied bundles, or set out baked goods. The air carried murmurs of conversation, occasional dog barks, and the gentle notes of a lute from a wandering musician. Children ran along the edges of the square, laughter soft and fleeting. Even in this simple morning, life felt harmonious, deliberate, and full of quiet beauty. Eleanor moved among the stalls, greeting neighbors with nods, exchanging soft words. One woman knelt to tie a child's shoes, another arranged carrots in a basket, another swept the cobblestones with calm, measured strokes. The elegance in routine was evident, hands skilled from repetition, eyes attentive to detail, posture upright yet gentle. Every motion echoed generations of women shaping life quietly but profoundly. As the sun climbed, Eleanor walked toward the small woodland at the village's edge. Here, women often collected firewood, herbs, and berries. The forest was alive with subtle motion. Leaves rustled, birds called, small animals scurried beneath undergrowth. Sunlight filtered through the canopy, casting shifting patterns on moss-covered stones. Eleanor bent to gather herbs, brushing leaves with gentle care, tying small bundles. She imagined countless women before her doing the same, teaching daughters, guiding hands, moving with patience and quiet mastery. Back in the village, midday arrived. Women worked in small kitchens and gardens. Dough was kneaded, vegetables chopped, stews stirred. The aroma of bread, roasting meat, and herbs filled the air. Each household functioned like a quiet symphony, gestures precise, movements coordinated, each act an expression of love and dedication. Stirring, sewing, lifting every act mattered. Eleanor returned home with her herbs, preparing a simple lunch. Ingredients were arranged thoughtfully, chopped and stirred with gentle precision. Her mother worked alongside her, rolling dough, kneading in rhythmic harmony. Together, their hands danced. Medieval Women's Sleep Story, Part 4. Scene for The morning broke gently over the medieval village, painting the timber-framed houses with soft golden light. Mist clung to the cobblestone streets, curling between the gardens and hedgerows, and the air carried the fresh scent of dew herbs and freshly baked bread. Somewhere, a rooster crowed softly, and the faint murmur of the river reached the edge of the village. The world awoke slowly, a rhythm honed over generations, where every sound, every movement, and every breath moved in harmony with the cycle of life. Inside a small house at the edge of the village, Eleanor stirred from her straw mattress. The soft woolen blanket fell gently from her shoulders as she rose, her bare feet brushing the cool wood floor. She wore a muted blue wool gown, practical for labor but edged with delicate embroidery along the sleeves and hem. Her long dark hair was braided simply, tied with a strip of linen, falling down her back. Every movement was deliberate, precise, a reflection of generations of women who had lived and labored in this village. Her day began with tending the hearth, coaxing the embers into a steady glow. She carried a clay jug to the well, the cool water brushing her hands as she filled it for the day's tasks. The garden outside offered fresh herbs, ripe vegetables, and small flowers for decoration. Eleanor moved among the plants, selecting thyme, mint, lavender, and rosemary with practiced care. Every leaf was examined, every movement intentional, echoing the subtle artistry of women whose knowledge had been passed down over centuries. Asterisk outside the village streets began to stir. Women carried baskets of eggs, bundles of herbs, or small tools. Their gowns swayed gently with each step, reflecting muted colors of earthy tones with hints of brighter dyes for special occasions. Some had sleeves rolled back for work, others tied neatly at the wrist. Hair was braided, coiled, or covered with scarves of linen or soft wool. Every movement was functional yet graceful, every gesture imbued with subtle elegance. Asterisk, the market square was alive with activity. Wooden stalls were arranged meticulously, merchants setting out vegetables, fruits, honey, and textiles. Women negotiated prices, exchanged news, or offered advice to younger neighbors. Children ran along the edges of the square, laughter light and soft, skirts brushing cobblestones as they chased one another. The gentle clatter of pots, the hum of conversation, and the distant notes of a lute blended into a rhythm of everyday life. Asterisk Eleanor walked through the market, observing the interactions of women around her. One knelt to tie a child's shoes, another adjusted bundles of carrots, and another swept the stones with measured movements. Even ordinary tasks held subtle elegance. Attentive eyes, careful hands, upright posture, and the soft sway of fabric created a choreography of labor, skill, and grace. She admired the continuity of tradition, the way small acts accumulated into a symphony of community life. Asterisk, she passed the baker's stall, inhaling the scent of freshly baked bread. The baker, a plump woman with flour-dusted hair, greeted her with a soft smile. Eleanor chose a small loaf, feeling the warmth through her hands, and nodded in gratitude. Simple exchanges such as this created bonds, unspoken acknowledgments of shared life, mutual reliance, and respect. Asterisk, the sun rose higher, and Eleanor wandered toward the village outskirts, where a narrow path led into a sun-dappled woodland. Women often collected firewood, herbs, or berries here. The forest was alive with subtle motion. Leaves rustled, birds called softly, and small animals moved through underbrush. Shafts of light filtered through the canopy, illuminating moss-covered stones and casting shifting patterns across the forest floor. Eleanor moved carefully, bending to gather herbs and roots, her fingers brushing leaves with gentle precision. Asterisk, each herb was chosen with care and tied into small bundles, to be carried back to the village for culinary or medicinal use. Her movements were deliberate, echoing centuries of women's practice. She imagined mothers guiding daughters, aunts teaching nieces, all performing these tasks with patience and grace. Every action, repeated across generations, contributed to the continuity of village life. Each small gesture woven into the fabric of daily existence. Asterisk, by midday, the village was alive with preparation for the coming festival. Women arranged colorful textiles, baked sweet pastries, and strung lanterns along the square. Children ran freely, laughter echoing softly among the market stalls. Men prepared livestock, and artisans displayed pottery and tools. The air was fragrant with herbs, baked goods, and the faint smoke from hearth fires. Eleanor observed, moving gracefully among preparations, noting the coordination of tasks, the harmony of motion. and the beauty inherent in deliberate labor. Asterisk, she assisted at a stall, arranging bundles of herbs for sale. Her hands moved with skill, placing each bundle carefully, adjusting the position of flowers for aesthetic appeal. Other women worked nearby, sewing embroidered patches, folding fabrics, or balancing baskets on their hips. Even mundane movements were infused with elegance. A tilt of the head, a sway of a gown, the delicate placement of a hand on a basket. Every motion reflected centuries of accumulated knowledge, instinctive yet deliberate, blending function and beauty. Asterisk, the festival began as the afternoon sun warmed the village. Musicians played soft melodies on lutes, flutes, and small drums, weaving gentle harmonies through the square. Women moved among the stalls, their skirts brushing cobblestones, their voices soft yet melodic, exchanging words and gestures that were both practical and expressive. Children chased one another around hay bales, their laughter forming a gentle undercurrent beneath the music and conversation. Asterisk, Eleanor wandered through the square, absorbing the sights, sounds, and scents. She noted women balancing domestic labor with social interaction, skillfully guiding children, carrying baskets, or arranging goods with subtle flair. Their movements were both functional and expressive, a quiet celebration of human presence, resilience, and creativity. Each step, each gesture, each glance was part of a larger choreography, a living tapestry of life. Asterisk, as evening approached, the festival lights glimmered, lanterns casting soft patterns on walls and cobblestones. Women tended fires, prepared evening meals, and guided children to settle in quiet corners. The village exhaled into a slower rhythm, a transition from activity to rest. Eleanor paused at her window, watching shadows lengthen and the golden glow reflect across rooftops. Timber beams and garden fences, the continuity of life, the careful attention of women in every task, and the beauty of ordinary gestures filled her with a sense of calm. Asterisk, night fell, and the village was enveloped in quiet serenity. Lanterns flickered softly, casting reflections across cobblestones and walls. Women moved with calm deliberation, finishing tasks, tidying homes, and preparing for sleep. Their voices were low, soft whispers blending with the rustling of leaves, the murmur of the river, and distant animal sounds. The night carried the rhythm of care, work, and patience, wrapping the village in a gentle embrace. Asterisk, Eleanor prepared her room, arranging her straw mattress and folding linens. She lay beneath the woolen blanket, listening to the sounds of night, the river flowing, wind whispering through trees, small movements in hedgerows. Her mind wandered through the lives of women across centuries, each gesture a continuation of a quiet, enduring tradition. She dreamed of gardens tended with care, meals prepared with precision, and community life moving gracefully in harmony. Asterisk, even in sleep. She wandered through market stalls, kitchens, fields, and homes. Women moved with purpose, care, and subtle elegance. Hands stirred, sewed, carried, guided, and nurtured. Skirts swayed, fabrics glimmered in soft light, voices blended with music and nature. Every action was deliberate, graceful, and profoundly human. Asterisk, the moon rose high, silver light reflecting off rooftops, cobblestones, and garden fences. The village rested, each stone, timber, and thatched roof imbued with history, care, and quiet beauty. Eleanor's dreams carried her through generations, alongside women whose lives shaped the rhythms of daily existence. Even the smallest gestures, folding a sleeve, arranging a basket, Tying a braid held meaning, continuity, and grace. Asterisk night deepened, and the village exhaled as one. Rivers whispered. Fires glowed, leaves rustled, and footsteps softened. Eleanor drifted further into sleep, cradled by centuries of women whose lives had shaped the world with care, skill, and subtle artistry. Every gesture, every sound, every movement carried the weight of generations, forming a living tapestry of resilience, elegance, and enduring presence. Medieval Women's Sleep Story, Part 5. Scene 5. The sun sank slowly behind the rolling hills, painting the medieval village in hues of amber and gold. Cobblestone streets glimmered softly in the fading light, and the air carried the mingled scents of fresh bread, herbs, and the gentle smoke from hearth fires. Birds flew homeward, their wings brushing the cool evening air, while the faint murmur of the river provided a soothing background rhythm. The village moved with a slower pace now, the transition from day to night marked by deliberate, gentle motions that had endured across centuries. Asterisk inside her small timber-framed house. Eleanor finished her evening chores. Her gown, a muted shade of soft brown, fell loosely around her ankles, sleeves rolled back for practicality. Her long dark hair was braided simply, tied with a strip of linen, the braid swinging softly as she moved. She tended the hearth first, adjusting embers until they glowed warmly, then washed the day's dishes, stacking them neatly. Each motion was deliberate, graceful, almost ceremonial, a reflection of generations of women who had performed the same tasks with care and pride. Asterisk outside. The village streets were alive with the softer, subtler rhythms of evening. Women guided children home, carrying small bundles or baskets, their movements measured yet elegant. Gowns swayed gently, fabrics reflecting muted colors of earthy dyes, accented with delicate embroidery along hems and sleeves. Hair was braided, coiled, or tied with linen, practical yet refined. Even the smallest gestures, the adjustment of a strap, the placement of a basket, the careful guidance of a child's hand carried a subtle beauty, a quiet harmony of function and grace. Asterisk the market square, once bustling with activity, had taken on a serene stillness. Stalls were cleared, goods carefully packed away, and lanterns hung softly along wooden posts and beams. The faint notes of a lute drifted from a distant musician who had lingered after the day, adding a delicate melody to the twilight. Children ran briefly to chase one another, their laughter soft and fleeting, mingling with the gentle sounds of footsteps, rustling leaves, and distant animal calls. Asterisk Eleanor stepped outside, carrying a small basket of herbs she had gathered in the garden earlier. The cool evening air brushed her cheeks, the scent of lavender, rosemary, and mint mingling with the fading warmth of the day. She walked slowly along the cobblestone path, observing the women returning home, exchanging brief greetings, sharing small words of advice or encouragement. These quiet social interactions were as much a part of the rhythm of life as cooking or weaving. Deliberate gestures of connection that nurtured the community. Asterisk at a neighbor's hearth. Women gathered for an evening of storytelling. They sat on simple wooden benches or straw mats, skirts pooling around them, sleeves rolled neatly, hands resting in laps or gesturing gently as tales were shared. Children sat cross-legged on the floor, eyes wide, listening intently. The stories were a blend of local legend, family history, and practical wisdom tales of courage, patience, and cleverness, each laced with subtle lessons for daily life. Asterisk Eleanor joined them, settling onto a straw mat beside her mother. The flickering firelight illuminated the soft folds of her gown and cast gentle shadows across the room. She listened as her neighbor recounted the adventures of a clever woman who had solved a problem for the entire village. With quick thinking and calm resolve, the story moved slowly, each word deliberate, each gesture measured, creating a rhythm that lulled listeners into a meditative state. Asterisk, as the evening deepened, women shared their own experiences. Tales of tending gardens, mending clothing, preparing meals, and guiding children were recounted with gentle humor and quiet pride. Even mundane actions were imbued with significance. The way a loaf of bread rose perfectly, the skillful mending of a tear in a sleeve, the precise arrangement of herbs for drying. These narratives were a way of preserving knowledge, connecting generations, and reinforcing the value of deliberate, mindful labor. Asterisk outside. The village was bathed in the soft glow of lanterns and the silver light of the rising moon. Shadows stretched across cobblestones and thatched roofs, creating intricate patterns that shifted with the flickering flames. Women moved from house to house, guiding children, arranging household items, or tending fires. Every gesture was measured, graceful, and infused with a sense of care, continuity, and quiet artistry. Asterisk Eleanor returned home, placing her basket on a wooden table. She arranged the herbs, hung small bundles to dry near the hearth, and adjusted the woolen blankets on her straw mattress. Her hands moved with deliberate care, each motion reflecting the rhythm of centuries of women who had lived and worked in the village. Even the simplest act, folding a blanket, tying a bundle of herbs, or adjusting a pot over the fire, was performed with mindfulness and elegance. Asterisk, the evening meal was simple, yet nourishing. Stew simmered gently over the hearth, bread was sliced, and small bowls of fresh vegetables were arranged neatly. Women sat together, sharing food and quiet conversation, their voices soft but full of warmth. Children were guided through the rituals of washing hands and setting the table, learning the subtle gestures of respect, care, and community that had been passed down through generations. Asterisk, after the meal, women engaged in tasks that blended utility and artistry. Some mended garments by lantern light, stitching hems with precise, patient movements. Others arranged flowers or herbs, creating small displays that brought subtle beauty to their homes. Even the act of washing dishes or sweeping the floor was performed with deliberate grace, each motion part of a larger choreography of domestic life. Asterisk Eleanor moved through these routines with serene focus. She felt the continuity of generations guiding her hands, the rhythm of daily tasks shaping her movements. There was beauty in repetition, elegance in care, and a quiet strength in knowing that each small gesture contributed to the well-being and harmony of the household and the village. Asterisk, as night deepened, women gathered briefly outside, tending fires, sharing quiet conversation, or guiding children to bed. Lanterns flickered softly, casting warm reflections on timber beams and cobblestones. The river murmured gently in the background, leaves rustled in the evening breeze, and distant animals moved quietly through hedgerows. The village exhaled, transitioning fully into the rhythm of rest, each movement soft, deliberate, and filled with care. Asterisk Eleanor prepared her room for sleep, arranging her mattress and pulling the woolen blanket around her shoulders. The room glowed with the soft light of the hearth, casting long shadows on walls and furniture. She lay down, listening to the gentle symphony of the village at rest. The rivers murmur, the winds whisper through trees, the soft shuffle of nighttime movements. Her mind drifted through the stories she had heard, the gestures she had observed, and the continuity of women's lives across generations. In dreams. She wandered through the village at night. She observed women tending fires, guiding children, arranging household items, and moving gracefully through homes and streets. The movement of skirts, the sway of fabrics, and the careful placement of hands and feet created a quiet rhythm, a symphony of deliberate, elegant life. Even the smallest gestures held significance, echoing centuries of care, patience, and artistry. She imagined herself walking through the quiet village, lantern light reflecting softly on cobblestones, rooftops, and garden fences. Women moved with calm efficiency, carrying out tasks with subtle grace. Children slept peacefully, guided by the steady hands of mothers and aunts. The rhythm of the night was slow, deliberate, and profoundly calming. A lullaby woven from centuries of knowledge and continuity. Eleanor's dreams carried her further, through kitchens, gardens, markets, and homes. She observed hands stirring, sewing, carrying, and guiding. Skirts swayed softly, fabrics glimmered under firelight, voices whispered gently, and the faint notes of distant music lingered in the air. Every movement, every gesture, every sound contributed to a living tapestry of village life, a continuity of care, labor, and subtle artistry that cradled her in serenity. The moon rose high, silver light illuminating rooftops, trees, and streets. Shadows danced softly across cobblestones, timber beams, and garden hedges. The village rested in quiet harmony, each motion, each breath, each gesture preserved in the soft rhythm of night. Eleanor drifted deeper into sleep, carried by the enduring presence of generations of women whose lives had shaped the world with patience, skill, and grace. Every fold of fabric, every careful stitch, every step along cobblestones, and every gentle motion held weight and significance. The quiet beauty of ordinary gestures, repeated across centuries, created an invisible tapestry of resilience and elegance. The village, cradled in moonlight and lantern glow, exhaled collectively, a living lullaby that enveloped Eleanor in peace. And so, the night continued, soft and protective. Eleanor slept, her dreams entwined with the lives of women before her, their hands guiding, their movements echoing, their presence quietly shaping the rhythm of the world. Every sound, every gesture, every breath of life carried with it continuity, grace, and enduring lullaby of medieval women, timeless and serene. Medieval Women's Sleep Story, Part 6. Scene 6. The night had settled fully over the medieval village, wrapping it in a deep, velvety calm. Moonlight filtered through gaps in timber-framed houses, casting silver beams across cobblestones, thatched roofs, and gently swaying gardens. The air was cool, carrying the faint scent of herbs, fresh bread, and hearth smoke lingering from evening fires. Trees whispered softly in the breeze, and the distant murmur of the river blended with the rustle of leaves, creating a gentle symphony of nocturnal life. Inside her small home, Eleanor lay on her straw mattress, the woolen blanket pulled snugly around her shoulders. Her eyes, half closed, reflected the soft flicker of the hearth as she listened to the quiet rhythm of the village at rest. Every sound, the faint shuffle of a neighbor moving through her home, the distant calls of night birds, the gentle stir of a dog in its pen contributed to a tapestry of calm. Each noise was a note in the lullaby of generations, a continuity that connected her to women of the past. Asterisk, her thoughts drifted to the day's activities, simple yet purposeful, tending herbs, preparing meals, observing the rhythms of village life, and participating in the small, intricate dances of human interaction. Each action, each gesture was deliberate and graceful, whether folding linen, adjusting a basket, or guiding a child's hand. In these movements, she sensed the presence of countless women before her, ancestors whose hands and eyes had shaped these same streets, kitchens, and gardens. Asterisk, Eleanor's gaze softened as she reflected on their lives, how each had faced challenges and joys with quiet strength, shaping the village not through grand gestures, but through everyday acts of care, labor, and attention. She imagined her grandmother guiding younger women in embroidery, teaching them to balance work and elegance. She pictured her mother kneading dough with steady hands, stirring soups and stews, while sharing stories and lessons of patience, wisdom, and resilience. And she imagined herself walking in these footsteps, adding her own rhythm, gestures, and presence to the continuity of life. Asterisk, the moon rose higher, its silver glow reflecting off rooftops and windows, casting a soft, serene light into her room. Shadows danced across the wooden walls and floor, creating intricate, moving patterns. Eleanor reached over to adjust her woolen blanket, the motion deliberate and comforting. A small ritual of care she had observed in women before her. Each gesture, repeated across generations, held a quiet power, a sense of continuity, and an enduring beauty. Asterisk, outside, the village slept in gentle harmony. Lanterns glowed faintly in a few windows, illuminating the paths for those still moving with care. A woman carrying herbs to dry near the hearth, another adjusting a child's blanket, a third checking on livestock. Each motion was slow, deliberate, and graceful, part of the subtle choreography of village life. The rhythm of evening was soft, meditative, and enveloping, a lullaby in which every sound, gesture, and breath contributed to serenity. Asterisk, Eleanor's mind drifted further into reflection. She imagined herself walking through the village at night, cobblestones cool under her bare feet, skirts swaying gently with each step, hands carrying small baskets or adjusting fabrics with care. She moved past shuttered windows, closed doors, and quiet gardens. The river whispered nearby, and the wind rustled through leaves and hedgerows. She felt a deep connection to the rhythm of life, to the women whose hands and presence had maintained the village through generations, and to the cycles of care and labor that had shaped it all. Asterisk, she imagined the lives of women in other households, stirring soups, folding linens, tending fires, guiding children to sleep. Even the smallest gestures, braiding hair, mending clothing, placing herbs carefully near the hearth held profound significance. Each act was a thread in the intricate tapestry of existence, connecting past, present, and future in an unbroken continuum of care, patience, and subtle artistry. Asterisk, in dreams, Eleanor wandered through timeless versions of the village, markets and kitchens, gardens and workshops, streets and courtyards stretched endlessly. Women moved with purpose, attention, and grace, performing tasks that were ordinary yet suffused with quiet elegance. She saw hands stirring dough, sewing hems, gathering herbs, arranging baskets, guiding children, and tending fires. Skirts swayed gently, fabrics shimmered in moonlight, and soft voices blended with ambient sounds of wind, water, and nocturnal wildlife, the dreamscape expanded. And Eleanor found herself among women of countless generations. She saw her ancestors' grandmothers, mothers, aunts, and distant foremothers moving through kitchens, fields, and markets, performing the same gestures she had learned. Their presence was subtle yet profound, a quiet guidance she felt in every motion, every breath, every thought. She realized that the rhythms she observed, the elegance she mirrored, and the care she practiced were all part of a living, breathing lineage. The village night deepened further. Lanterns glimmered softly on window sills and posts, reflecting in puddles on cobblestones. The river murmured in gentle patterns, accompanied by the rustle of leaves and the distant calls of animals stirring briefly in hedgerows. Women who remained active moved slowly, deliberately, and with care. Every gesture folding blankets, stirring a pot, arranging herbs, checking on a child was executed with mindfulness and quiet grace. Eleanor felt herself drifting through time, witnessing centuries of women living in harmony with their shaping domestic and community life with their presence. She imagined sewing circles where knowledge was passed gently from elder to younger, kitchen lessons where flavors and care intertwined, garden tending where herbs and vegetables were harvested with attention, and children guided with patience and subtle instruction. All these acts, repeated over countless nights and days, created a living, enduring rhythm that enveloped the village in stability, beauty, and calm. Her dreams deepened further. She wandered through the streets at night, past houses with flickering hearth fires, gardens shimmering in moonlight, and children sleeping quietly under woolen blankets. Women moved in measured patterns, each step precise yet graceful, each gesture full of intention. The rhythm of the village was gentle yet powerful, soft yet sustaining, a testament to the enduring presence and subtle strength of women who nurtured, maintained, and guided life over generations. Eleanor observed the delicate choreography of domestic life, hands folding fabric, stirring soups, arranging herbs, guiding children, and carrying small bundles. Every movement was intentional, mindful, and beautiful in its simplicity. Even the smallest gestures held weight, significance, and elegance, forming an unbroken chain of care, knowledge, and artistry that linked generations of women. She drifted toward a quiet corner of the dream village, where lanterns cast pools of soft light over stone walls and timber beams. Women gathered, sharing whispered stories, gentle advice, and subtle guidance. Children slept near the hearth, animals rested in pens, and the faint music of a lute drifted softly through the night. The rhythm of these gestures, stories, and sounds created a gentle, meditative symphony, a living lullaby that carried centuries of continuity and calm. Eleanor lay in her own bed in the dream, feeling the continuity of generations around her. She sensed the presence of women who had lived before her, their hands guiding hers, their motions echoing in her mind, their wisdom flowing softly through the rhythms of the night. Every act of care, every small gesture, every deliberate movement was part of an unbroken chain of life, elegance, and resilience. The moon climbed higher, silvering rooftops, gardens, and streets. Shadows stretched gently, shifting with the glow of lanterns. Every sound, the river's murmur, wind through leaves, distant animals, footsteps, and quiet voices melded into a symphony of tranquility. The village rested in perfect harmony, a living lullaby composed of subtle gestures, mindful labor, and enduring presence. Eleanor felt herself sink fully into sleep. Dreams carried her through centuries of women's lives, where each stitch, each fold, each movement, each whispered word, each small act of care created a rhythm of serenity and elegance. The continuity of their presence cradled her, wrapping her in calm, guiding her into profound rest, and reminding her that life, even in its simplest motions, was imbued with beauty, strength, and purpose. The stars twinkled above, reflecting the soft glimmers of lantern light in the village. The night hummed quietly, rivers flowing, wind whispering, animals stirring softly, and women moving gently in harmony with life. Every gesture, every step, every breath, every sigh was part of the eternal rhythm of care, patience, and subtle artistry that had persisted across generations. And so, the village slept in perfect serenity. Eleanor's dreams continued to wander through the lives of women before her, their presence and guidance woven seamlessly into the fabric of her consciousness. The night cradled her in enduring calm, a lullaby of centuries, a meditation on continuity, grace, and the quiet yet profound power of women who shaped the world with their care, attention, and elegance. The moonlight softened, the stars shimmered faintly, and the village exhaled collectively. Every stone, every beam, every roof, every garden, every hand and gesture was wrapped in the rhythm of life. Eleanor slept, fully immersed in the living lullaby, her dreams entwined with the enduring presence of women across time.